Are you thinking about downsizing and need some help? Stick around, I've got some tips for you. I'm Judy Mitchell with Mitchell Realty at Remax Professionals in St. John, and I have 5 downsizing tips for you. I'm meeting a lot of people lately who are talking about downsizing and decluttering and getting a smaller home. And one of the things that I have done in the past is help people do that. So I thought we would do a series of videos to talk about getting your house ready for that time, inevitable time for all of us, when we need a smaller property. And so I guess my first tip would be start early. Whether you think that's something that you're going to do next year or 10 years from now, start looking at your things as, do I really want to move these, and do I want them if I move into a smaller location? So when it's time to start decluttering, you have to be ruthless, and it's really tough. There are some family heirlooms that you have to decide, is there a child or a cousin who might like those items? But, reality is that at some point, someone else is going to own that item, and it might as well be figured out who it is going to be now. Other items like old taxes, it's time to shred them. I have a shred event every year. Next year, October 4th, I believe, that Saturday, whatever the Saturday is, we are going to be having our shred event at Loch Lomond Villa parking lot for Alzheimer's Society. Any old documents that you don't need, please bring them. Let's get rid of them. They truly will never be needed again. Anything more than 7 years old is, I promise you, garbage. Let's get rid of it safely and securely. And they do make your house smell bad because it holds moisture. So we don't want them in the house anyhow. Be extremely ruthless when it comes to things like books and things that you love having, but are you really ever going to read them again? And the other thing that nobody is going to buy, used china. Your sterling silverware is probably worth what it weighs if it's full silver. If it's silver plate, generally you can't get anything for it. So use those dishes, use those items, and you wanted them as a wedding gift or whatever, then there's time for you to enjoy them now, rather than just letting them go, because they're going to end up on the shelf of a thrift store. So it's a lot of tough decisions, but the sooner you start making them, the easier it is. So when it comes to those like challenging tasks like spring cleaning or decluttering, getting ready to move, we all have those tasks that we, are struggling with. Or, they say, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Well, the method of doing a task like that you can't do in just one day, you have to ask yourself how you respond best. Some people, they'll do 30 minutes for 30 days. Some people will set a certain, like every Tuesday evening after supper, they'll spend 2 or 3 hours picking away at the storage room down the basement or whatever. But find the way that works for you and set it up so that you hold yourself accountable. Maybe it's a calendar and you color it in every time that you actually do the task, and then you can see at the end of a month that you've been doing it every day, or that you've done it every Tuesday night, or whatever your method is. I know I'm struggling. I've got over 20,000 photos on my phone, and I can't find any that I need when I need them. So I'm trying now at the end of each day to tag each photo and get rid of the ones that are just labels. You do not know how many pictures on my photo roll are labels from a grocery store that I'm zooming in to read ingredients on. So there's things that I can get rid of each day. And if I do it on a daily basis, it's really easy. It's a 5-minute task. But if I wait and do a whole month at once, then it becomes overwhelming. So look at the task you're trying to get done and find the way that speaks to you, and then hold yourself accountable. Maybe you give yourself a reward or something if that's your method for doing it, and that will help you do it. But when it comes to those big tasks, it's finding a method that works for you. One of the most important things to think about before you move is, will your furniture fit at the new house, especially if you are downsizing? So Monica has copyrighted this phrase, but measure twice, move once. You do not want to move a piece of furniture that is not going to fit in the house. There's no point in paying someone to move it. So measure where every single piece of furniture is going to go. And if it's short by an inch, it's short by an inch. You cannot make the space big enough. It's a hard reality, and I know people don't like it. They're like, oh, I'll fit it in. It doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. So don't move it if it doesn't fit in the new house. When you're going to move and you've got a favorite piece of furniture, something that's critical, you should bring that dimension of that item with you on your showing so that you know that it's going to fit before you buy the house, if it's that important. But if you've bought the house that you're downsizing to and you might have to replace some furniture and all that type of thing, then you want to do scale drawings of the furniture that you're moving and then put them in the actual house. Something I do with my clients, particularly my sellers who are downsizing, I'll take the dimensions of the place they're moving to. This happens to be a 1-bedroom apartment that someone's moving to. And I literally have every piece of furniture in every possible size, I think. And I literally will lay the furniture down on the scale drawing of the room, and we figure out what's going to fit and what's not, and where we might have to make some changes. Maybe we have to go from the queen bed to a double bed in the guest room. So those decisions are so much better if you make them in advance. If you wait until the day of the move, I guarantee you're going to be wasting money on movers, because they are going to move furniture there. It's not going to fit, and now you're going to have to get rid of it and go either buy something that you've already just given away, or you're going to have to go back to the old house and get the bed that you didn't move. It makes it a lot more difficult. So it's an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure, and that's sort of what this is a little bit of pre-planning. Make sure that when you move into your new house, it's exactly the way you want it to be, and you're not dealing with any surprises on moving day. If you're thinking about downsizing, one of the things you need to think about is, what are you going to do with two things? One, photos, slides, movies, all that type of thing. And also, what are you going to do with the collectibles? You've been collecting thimbles from all over the world on all your travels, and you don't want to give those up. But at the same time, you're moving into a 2-bedroom apartment and you're hoping to travel through the winters. You need to be thinking about what you're really going to do with those things that you've been collecting for many, many years. So let's cover the photos, slides, and videos first. They can all be digitized. And when you digitize them, the nice thing is that then you can start sharing them with friends and family. We've been digitizing my father's slides, and we're putting them into basically a Google Drive file, and everyone will have access to it. And the nice thing is that we're getting Dad to add comments on it to tell us a little bit about where he's been and the travels and that type of thing. So we're getting the story that we want to go with the pictures now while we can. And we're also going to have it accessible to everybody instead of being in those big slide trays. So give some thought about doing that. There's services around that will do it. And it's worth spending the money to get it done now. And the other thing I would say is go through the slides yourself before you have them digitized. Throw out every picture of pretty sunsets, of pretty plants. And if you don't know who was in that picture today, you're not going to know who's in that picture tomorrow. So don't digitize slides that don't have people in them that you know. And also, if it's a trip that you've been on, that type of thing, some of the pictures you may want to share, but I would not digitize every single slide in a 140 slide tray of your one trip to South Africa or wherever you've gone, because that isn't something the family's going to want to see. Keep those slides for yourself if you want, but the family's going to want the ones where they're going to know people in it, and they're going to love to see a picture of you in front of the South Africa sign, but they are not going to need every single museum that you saw on that trip. The other thing to digitize is your collections. And so if you've been collecting, I say thimbles, teacups, whatever the item is, you can have them professionally photographed and turned into a coffee table book. And I promise you, more people are going to want to look at that coffee table book with the items in it than they will if they're in a box in the basement or in a storage room. So make a nice book. You can put little captions that explain everything and where you got them and who they were from and all the details. And that book becomes the history of your collection. It can sit on your coffee table. It won't take much space. And it's well worth giving you that treat for recognition of the collection that you've collected for the many, many years that you've been doing it. So you don't have to give things away necessarily, but you need to change the way that you have them. So when it's time to downsize and declutter, one of the hardest things is just getting rid of your stuff. You've got to decide whether your things can be sold, donated, or gifted. And it's not as easy as you think. So if you're thinking that you're going to sell things and make money selling things, it's extremely time consuming, and you need to start that now, regardless of whether you're moving next month or 10 years from now. It is a very, very time consuming task to find people to buy items, especially if they are specialty items and you're hoping to get top dollar. So if you've got items to get rid of, you're going to sell, donate, or gift. The other next thing that you can do is donate. And I can tell you there are an awful lot of people in need. I don't care whether you're in St. John, New Brunswick or anywhere else in North America. There are people in your community who need the things that you have sitting in a closet not being used. I don't care whether it's bedding, towels, the extra 5 pots that you never use. I don't care what it is. There's somebody who needs whatever you have that you're not using. And there is nothing that feels better than knowing that you're helping somebody else who had a fire, who is struggling to get reset up after domestic issues, whatever. There's people in your community who you can donate to. And the last item is gifting. And you can gift to your family members, to your church or organizations, even museums. If you have items that are historically interesting, there are small museums, especially small libraries, that are looking for those items. And so gifting items to them is very, very important, because a lot of those smaller museums, especially small regional, like a little country museum, they don't have budgets. So they're depending on people gifting them items. So think about who's in your community that can use the things that you don't need. So when you're starting to think about downsizing, there's a lot of things to give consideration to. And as I said earlier, if you were thinking about downsizing just because the kids have gone to university and you don't need the big family home anymore, maybe you just need a smaller home, something that needs a little less money to run, heat, taxes, all that stuff adds up. So give some thought to where you are now and the next 5 years, and the 5 years after that, and the 5 years after that. You may be able to find a house that works for you, or an apartment or a condo, through this transition right into, the next transition when you're retired and you want to travel. Maybe you want to be able to lock the front door and go away for a few months at a time. Those are all things to give considerations to. You want to make sure that what you're moving to isn't a short-term plan, because it's too much work to move. It's costly and it's a lot of energy and money. So it's nice if you can make that move and make it last for a couple phases in the future. I like to say, if it's nice enough to mow, it's nice enough to golf. I don't golf, but I don't mow either, actually. But if it's sunny enough out to be doing a household chore, then it's sunny enough to be doing something fun. And you just have to think about, how do you want to spend your weekends in the future? And sometimes compromising a big lawn in order to have more time to golf might be the decision you make, but give it a lot of thought on what you want from your future house for the long term. So if you found these tips and tricks useful or helpful, feel free to click the link below right there, and that will bring you to a place on our website where you'll be able to download a PDF, and we'll send that to you and give you some other hints and go into a little bit more detail on all of this. If you have any questions about anything we talked about, feel free to reach out. I don't do the floor planning system for people who aren't clients. It's unfortunately just too time consuming to help everybody, but I am willing to share my knowledge and help as many people as I can that way. But please feel free to reach out if you're thinking about moving and you need an agent. I would be more than happy to help you sell your house. And if you haven't hit the like and subscribe button yet, you do it now, and that way you'll know as we put more things on to help you move. And we promise not to harass you and spam you with a whole bunch of garbage.